Our first story, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, says it will soon introduce exhaust emission standards to rate Ghana's roads of smoldering vehicles. The exercise, according to the head of the Environment and Quality Department, will help reduce the public exposure to high concentration of particles emitted from smoking vehicles.
Most motorists may not be aware of the dangers they pose to people's health when their vehicles churn out poisonous exhaust fumes on the streets. These emissions, which are byproduct of exhaust systems, contribute to air pollution and are a major ingredient in the creation of smog. But this, the EPA says, will be addressed with the enforcement of standards that will check the exhaust fumes emissions from vehicles.
We need to know why there's a need to put in place this standard. What are the health implications? What are the environmental implications? What we need to do to safeguard our environment. Currently, we are developing what we call a roadmap to vehicular emission standard and fuel economy. So, knowing that the sulfur content of our fuel is particularly high, together with the NPA and other stakeholders, by developing this roadmap.
Dr. Addo admits that although the standard is long overdue, an intensive stakeholder meeting is ongoing to ensure the standard is soon implemented.
You need to have a measure to know that these are the levels of pollutants that are being released from the vehicles. Without that measure or that standard, you cannot enforce any law. We have to ensure enforcement, compliance is very important. We are bringing the thing on the board for strong discussion. So at the end of the day, what we put out there is like a consensus that has been reached, that this is what we can put out there at the moment. With time, we push it higher. So once we are bringing these stakeholders into play, we expect that we will still go to have the dialogue or interaction with them to make sure that we are achieving the desired results.
He adds, with an effective collaboration with the Driver Vehicle License Authority and the Motor Traffic and Transport Division of the Ghana Police Service, a baseline for checking the menace will be developed and motorists found culpable prosecuted.
As a matter of agency, we are going to push it forward so that in the nearest future, that standard will be in place. And that one, when it is ready, it means that it becomes enforceable. Now we can have the DVLA having their roadworthy certificate, also including the levels of emissions. The regime will be such a way that there will be penalties. It means that you have to pay and then go and repair your car. And then if you pass it, then you put on the road. But if it's such that it's go way beyond our minimum, that means that you are going to be banned from even going to be on the road.
He further added an intensive public education would also be rolled out. Matilda Pamaga for Joy News, Accra.
Well, President John Mahama has pledged to support the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to end dumping of fecal matter directly into the sea. The president on Thursday inspected trial of a technology that converts fecal matter into gas and manure set up at Lavender Hill by the AMA in collaboration with the Danish government. A report by Gifty Andoapia.
Rather than being discharged directly into the sea, fecal matter from all over Accra are dumped here in this dugout system, from where the fluids are drained and the solids processed into manure and gas. The Accra Mayor, Oko Vanderpoy, said the technology so far has been able to process 45 of about 170 trucks which used to dump into the sea. He adds the practice can be stopped entirely if 2 more of the conversion plants are installed.
And for the past 1 year, we've been testing it, and it has worked very well. Mr. President, every day we have 170 of the separate trucks that dump into the ocean. Currently, for the past 8 months now, about 40 to 45 5 trucks have been dumping into this system that we have constructed. It's one of the best things that has happened in Accra. It is our hope that in the future, in the very near future, we will build about 2 more right here so that we can stop, for the first time in the history of Accra, the traditional way of dumping into the ocean.
Owner and CEO of the initiating company, Slums in Ghana Limited, Frederick Sinison, convinced President Mahama of the technology's sustainability, explaining how it works.
2 minutes ago, fecal matter. And you see how dry it is already. From down there, yes. And it's an instantaneous process. And this is where the magic happens. It is all mechanical part of everything. Everything else is gravity fed, and that's why it is so sustainable, because with weather and wind and salt, it is not easy environment for machines. But we have found something that we believe is sustainable across Ghana. Our entire site runs on less than 4 gallons a day. It's unheard of. Very small footprints. We could even put a solar filter and footprints at all. In terms of the stench, it is always a bit of a smell at the site. We are minimizing it, but we are also about to put a roof over our tank to further reduce in order for the benefit of the people of Accra.
It separates the water?
Yes, right in here.
He said adaptability of the technology to the Ghanaian environment is constantly being improved. President Mahama said government will vigorously aim at 100% conversions of liquid waste to especially improve Ghana's waters.
Indeed, it's shameful to continue to dump liquid waste in the sea, and so we have to ensure that in the next few months we're able to process 100% of all the liquid waste and discharge safe water. Government is going to support the Accra Metropolitan Authority to be able to ensure that as soon as possible we are able to process 100% of the liquid waste. But I wish to note that there are many lavender hills all over the country. This technology that we've seen, the Danish technology, even after we fully operationalize the new liquid waste sewage treatment plant, the MUDO, we would want to apply this technology in other parts of the country to be able to treat the waste. And the beautiful thing is turn the waste into compost and supply it to farmers, to be able to fertilize their farms.
He said government will liaise with the Danish embassy to start a project which identifies other places in the capital with liquid waste discharging problems so that the technology can be replicated there. The AMA is currently under a court injunction brought by the Environmental Protection Agency to stop fecal dumping into the sea. The beach at Lavender Hill has for many years been a dumping ground for untreated fecal matter. Giftian Rapia, Joy News, Lavender Hill, Accra.
Well, while the AMA boss was taking the president around that very project site just around the old Sodom and Gomorrah area, something was happening in Parliament. A member for Acquah Central, Patrick Yabuama, called for the resignation of the mayor of Accra, Dr. Alfred van der Poy. In his opinion, the mayor should be held responsible for the recent collapse of a multi-story uncompleted structure at Niboy Town in the Acquah North constituency. According to him, his failure to ensure those tasked to supervise and inspect buildings in the metropolis efficiently discharge their duties was not enough grounds for his removal. He raised the matter in Parliament after MP for Wa East made a statement on the Niboy Town disaster in which one life was lost.
The MP for Wa East, Amin Salifu, blamed the collapse of the structure on the unprofessional conduct of some building contractors and architects in the discharge of their duties. He outlined some bad practices he says must end if future tragedies are to be avoided.
We need to take a critical look at all permits granted for the construction of high-rise buildings to ascertain whether they meet the required standards. Building on inappropriate soil and above all, non-enforcement of laid-down rules and regulations relating to the construction of buildings. The capacity of the Building Inspectorate Division is strengthened to make it more effective to be able to conduct regular checks and monitoring while construction is in progress.
In seconding the statement, the MP for Acquah Central, Patrick Yabuama, rather called for the head of the AMA boss.
On principle, the AMA boss should resign. Every country, the buck stops with the head of the metropolis. This is the second time this incident is happening, and the AMA boss is still sitting in his office. Very comfortable. And I entreat the government to create more municipalities if the AMA boss cannot manage the whole of Accra.
The Minister of Roads and Highways and MP for Sisala West, AGIAN Amidu Suleimani, on his part, blamed building inspectors.
People who supervise, engineers or whatever they are, who supervise such buildings, when they collapse, those engineers should be held accountable and maybe their certificates withdrawn from practicing. The honorable colleague was talking about contractors. I have always said that we don't have bad contractors. The contractor is just a businessman. Those who certify the works of the contractors are the people who should be held responsible.
The import is that anything that can go wrong will go wrong unless it is prevented. Mr. Speaker, the only thing that will prevent the continual recurrence of these incidents is for us as a nation to begin to follow the rules.
MP for Sojaman Kofi Osei-Ameyao urged the House to go beyond making statements on the tragedy and take action.
We all represent constituencies. Some of our constituents were entered Malcolm because they had the assurance that this House had put proper laws in place for their protection, and that the executive is going to execute and administer these laws effectively and properly to protect our citizens. Here we find our citizens gasping for air because they are under the bridge. And we sit in this House continuously debating these issues. Please, it is about time this House sent a message to the executive that we are not going to tolerate its laxity in terms of implementation of the law.
Still in Parliament, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Haruna Idrisu, was also on the floor to answer questions on what the ministry is doing to support the pineapple business and non-traditional export crops. He outlined some of the interventions made by the government and also said the ministry is ready to support any farmer who presents a viable business plan to the ministry.
Well, we'll turn our attention to some party politics now, and after months of anticipation, the 2012 presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party has indicated he will contest the flag bearer position of the party when nominations open in August this year. It is a decision which appears to have been well received by a good number of the party's leaders and grassroots supporters. In fact, many say he should go unopposed. Some of them who spoke to Joy News believe he's the best candidate to secure victory for the party in the 2016 elections.
For months now, supporters and sympathizers of the NPP had been kept in suspense as to what the political future of their 2012 presidential candidate would be. The long wait, coupled with the several meetings with Addo and the various supporters groups of the party, heightened their expectations even further. But nonetheless, many took time to dance the day away whilst patiently awaiting his announcement. And when finally Addo announced the decision to contest the flag-bearer position of the party, the announcement came as a huge sigh of relief to the many exuberant and die-hard supporters of the party who had gathered at his residence.
I thank the Almighty God that I'm able to say that I feel spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, intellectually, physically, and patriotically strong enough to remain in the hurly-burly of frontline politics. With great humility, therefore, I can announce that when the party opens nominations sometime this year, I shall be ready, God willing, to contest for the position of NPP presidential candidate. for the 2016 general election.
Addo stated that the decision to re-enter mainstream politics after a 6-month break follows several consultations with key leaders and grassroots supporters of the party. He debunked concerns about his age, noting that at 70 years, he was too young to lead the NPP into the 2016 elections.
I have been humbled by the loyalty, the confidence and trust that millions of Ghanaians have given to me. I thought about the huge disappointment that our loss brought to us all. I thought about the passing of time and the fact that I shall be 70 years old in a few days' time. I have asked hard questions of myself and of my body, and I have taken the opportunity to see my doctors both here in Ghana and in the United Kingdom. I examined my commitment and the fire that burns in my belly with a desire to lead Ghana.
He used the opportunity to call on the rank and file of the NPP to unite for victory in 2016.
Let us protect the dignity of the NPP in all that we do or say. We do not have to compete with the government in attracting negative publicity to ourselves.
Touching on his vision for Ghana, Addo said he aimed to oversee the structural transformation of the economy and eliminate corruption. He said the current economic difficulties call for efficient leadership, noting that most of the problems can be traced to widespread corruption and the apparent inability on the part of the current leadership to fight it. Eric Curtis Howard for Joy News.
The leaders spoke to the news team after the event, saying that Addo's decision, particularly about his age, is not an issue in the elections in 2016.
What is the job of a president? To run the 440, to run 100 meters, to run the marathon, or to run the country? How do you run the country? It is by what's inside your head. And what is inside your head can be as sharp at 40 as it can be at 70 or 80. What we want is his vision. We're not looking for a dancing partner. We're looking for somebody who can take decisions about how this country should be run and can do something so that the young people can go and do some dancing, because they'll have some money in their pockets, they'll have a job, they'll have some earnings.
Age is just a number. Looking at this man, what shows that he cannot continue working? Looking at the way he stood here, physically, emotionally, everything, the way he spoke, intellectually, he's fit to do the work of a president.
Okay. He said he's going to be 70 years young very soon. We have seen other leaders in the world who have performed tremendously well, including Ronald Reagan, who ran, I think, at 71, Abdou Diouf, I think, at 74, Mandela at 76. There are others. It doesn't depend on age. Politics works in eras. Probably in this era, what we are going to see is very mature, experienced governance.
That would be the best if he could go on opposed. It will bring unity within the party and factionalism will be minimized. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo gives the NPP the best opportunity for victory in 2016. And that is why some of us, and literally the majority of us, are anxious that he should lead us to that victory which we so badly need and this nation needs.
What we know from the eastern region coming here, we had spoken, we'd come to pay a visit to him when he arrived, you know, and our chairman made it very clear to him that it wasn't a matter of choice on his part. And so this is what we wanted and expected. As far as a lot of the NPP people are concerned, it wasn't a matter of, he didn't have a choice. This is what he was supposed to do. So this is good news. The truth is that, as far as I know, and I stand to be corrected, in our history, never in our history has a personality been called for by the people. Never in our history. So it tells you that there's a profound requirement of him to do what he has done today. And we're grateful to him and to God. He consulted with God, he consulted with our elders, he consulted with a whole lot of people. And as far as we're concerned, he's done the right thing.
Well, the ruling National Democratic Congress, the NDC, has meanwhile hailed Nana Akufo-Addo's decision to seek to leave his party in the 2016 general elections. According to the NDC, it will be another opportunity to defeat and politically retire him in 2016.
I welcome him with enthusiasm. In fact, we can't wait for MPP to choose Nana Addo, because we have fought him. We know where his strengths are, where his weaknesses are, and I think Nana Addo will be an easy prey for us in 2016. And we are also happy that MPP, I hope we are wrong, but our reading of the situation is that MPP is not, they don't appear to be futuristic in their actions, because clearly you have a candidate who is going down the slope, and you still are investing your hopes in him. The future of NDC doesn't lie, MPP doesn't lie in Nana Addo, because take the results of Nana Addo in 2008. I mean, his results were better than 2012. So if you begin with maybe 4 regions, and then in 2012 you come down to 2 regions, you can imagine the number of regions he will be winning in 2016. Statistically speaking, that is it. Secondly, there is no, history is not on their side, because since the founding of this country, there has never been any situation where a defeated presidential candidate has emerged to defeat the incumbent president who defeated him in previous elections. It hasn't happened.
Well, so the politics of it, you know, depending on the interpretation you want to give it. So, and from yesterday, the age and how many times a person has run, etc., and who is the incumbent candidate came up.
Yeah, of course. And it's still generating a lot of interest on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Joynews on TV. Just want to share this one with you. Al-Hassan Basaru says, NDC is ready to give Nana Addo another big defeat come 2016. We're not worried at all. JM all the way. I guess the campaign has begun. And NDC New Koforidua Ash says, the general is right, but Nana Addo's chances of winning 2016 election will depend on the inability of President Mahama to turn things around. We'll see how it goes. That's it for the AM News, though. Before we go, we want to run quickly through the headlines for you.
An MP has called for the immediate dismissal of the Accra Mayor, Dr. Alfred Okuvandapoy, over the building collapse at Niboy Town here in Accra.
Motor Traffic and Transport Departments of the Ghana Police Service will, from May this year, prosecute all drivers operating at unauthorized lorry terminals.
Well, the NDC says he will be an easy prey for them in 2016, but the gentleman who has declared his intention to run for the primaries of the presidential candidacy of the NPP, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, says he has the vision to transform Ghana.
All right, we'll bring you sport in a little bit. It's brought to you by Cowbell, presented by Baba Tando. Stay with us right here on the AM show, and make sure you have your mug of Mixie coffee. That's good company. Stay with us.
We'll be right back.
Good morning, I am Baba Tando. Time now to talk sports, courtesy Cowbell. Now we begin right from home, and there's been a lot of issues that have been raised concerning the Youth and Sports Minister, Elvis Acquah's meeting with the press a couple of days back. Now, top amongst the issues was what the World Cup proceeds from Brazil 2014 was going to be used for, especially since we have not been able to account for what has been done with proceeds from 2006 Germany and 2010 South Africa. Elvis Acquah is the Minister of Youth and Sports, and he tells us what they hope to use. They, as in the GFA, the Ghana Football Association and the Sports Ministry, and probably want to put governments there as well, what they will do with proceeds from the 2014 World Cup to be staged in Brazil this June.
Based on that experience, in 2014, we are being innovative, and we have proposed that we use the money looking at our peculiar circumstances. So we use the money, part of it for development of other sports and other infrastructure. The Pram Pram Soccer Center of Excellence is an FA and a football, facility. So it's also going into football. But I think that people should even be commending the FA. Rather than saying they'll be rigid and say, look, by the rules, this money is for football. So football at all costs. So I think that we look at our peculiar situations and we become innovative, looking at our current circumstances. Everybody knows that the other sports do not attract so much funding. Yes.
All right, so we just heard from Youth and Sports Minister Elvis Acquah. Now, this weekend there will be 8 matches. There is no Premier League. That's the First Capital Plus Premier League. It will be put on hold because there's FA Cup action coming up this weekend. Tomorrow, that's Saturday, and on Sunday. 8 matches as we head into the round of 16. 8 Premier League sides are going to be battling with sides from Division 1 as well as Division 2. Sides in Division 1 who are making all intentions clear that they would want to have sports in the Premier League come next season. So here are the fixtures coming up in the round of 16 of the 2014 MTN FA Cup. Kotoko are hosting Istanbul FC and Kumasi at the Babayara Sports Stadium. At the Feyenoord Academy Stadium in Gomwa, it will be Feyenoord Academy up against Edubiasi FC. Acquah United, they will take on Premier League side Mediama SC. Brekum Chelsea are at home at the Golden City Park in Brekum to Inter Allies. Dowenya FC take on Bazooka FC. Ash Gold, they take on Mighty Jets. There's Hazak is up against Gold Stars. King Faisal as well hosting Metro Stars in Kumasi. There was action in Europe last night, talking about the Europa League. That happened in the Europa League last night. Andrea Pirlo showing that he's still a living legend. Away from that, let's talk about what's happening in the English Premier League this weekend. There will be matches across England. Let's check out the fixtures coming up. Chelsea up against Arsenal, top of the table, and Cardiff City up against Liverpool. Everton, they host Swansea City. West Bromwich Albion travel to Hull City. Fulham travel to Manchester City. Newcastle United, they welcome Crystal Palace. Norwich City, they take on Sunderland. West Ham United up against Manchester United. Tottenham Hotspur hosting Southampton, and Aston Villa up against Stoke City. Finally, we'll check out the La Liga fixtures before I take leave of you. Coming up this weekend is that big match, the El Clasico. Certainly one to look forward to in the Spanish La Liga. Celta Vigo up against Malaga. Granada up against Elche. Levante, they travel to Espanyol. Rayo Vallecano at home, away to Real Valladolid. Getafe, they travel to Athletic Bilbao. Sevilla FC up against Osasuna. Real Betis, they host Atletico Madrid. Valencia are at home to Villarreal. Real Madrid up against Barcelona at the Santiago Bernabeu. That's that big one to look forward to this weekend. And finally, Almeria and Real Sociedad, they will wrap up the weekend's action in La Liga. All right, it's a wrap for sports this morning, brought to you by the kind courtesy of Cowbell. My name is Baba Tando. The AM show continues right after this break. Do stay on.